Hello, and welcome to Catholicism in the Car. My name is Parker Zurbuch.
I want to talk about work once again, the nature of work, not in the physics standpoint, but in the societal economic standpoint. Work as in a job, an occupation. I am coming from an American context, thus most of my reactions to the concept of work will be reactions to the American concept of work. I have a wonderful job with some wonderful people. It's a small business. It's an engineering and land surveying firm out of northeast Indiana. I don't know why I always say northwest. I think it's because I grew up in California for a few years, and I associate part of myself over there, so I always think I'm west of somewhere else. But no, I'm in northeast Indiana. Much different place than California, even back in the early 2000s. But I think a very homely place, a very nice place to live. It's a very safe place to live. Great area to raise a family. There's a lot of really stable economic opportunities, and yeah. So I work at this land surveying and engineering firm I'm kind of an up-and-coming land surveyor. I'm doing my training for that. It takes anywhere from an associate's to a bachelor's degree, and then you kind of fill in either 4 or 6 years of experience before you can get your license in Indiana. So if you need 8 years overall to get licensed, and it takes 2 license exams. You take one after your initial education is done, and then you take another after your years of work experience are done. And after the second one, you receive your license. So it's 8 years at least in total in order to get fully licensed. And that involves, so if you get an associate's degree, it means you need 6 years of working experience. And if you get a bachelor's degree, it means you need 4 years of working experience. Now that's the Indiana laws on this. Other states, it's different. Some states have less restrictions, some states have more. Like some states allow you to become a land surveyor if you just have, I think it's maybe California, if you have 10 to 12 years of experience, you can, and you pass both exams. You don't need any college education, which I think is great. I think really, if you can pass the exam and demonstrate that you know the material, why in the world should you have to pay for college when you could be working and making money that entire time and learning the actual skills of the trade? Like, there was probably one class throughout my college experience that was like practically necessary in the sense that like I would use the academic information that I learned directly in my career. Now I would say, I mean, you should have a pretty good grasp of mathematics, geometry, calculus, a pretty good grasp of those things, like a working understanding of those things. And you can get that without going to college. There are so many, especially nowadays, there are so many resources for this. YouTube videos, free tutoring. The opportunities are just endless. And to learn a skill or a trade or even an academic area of interest, you don't need formal education anymore. You don't need to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars and possibly go into debt, very possibly go into debt, in order to gain that knowledge. I was blessed. My parents did pay for my education, but I was also blessed because I was able to get my education very cheap, and so thus my family was able to afford this education. And I'm still going through classes. I'm trying to get my bachelor's degree. I have about 9 classes left, and I'm just doing it a class at a time. And what's great is now that I'm married and I have a child, I get even more deductions on my tuition. Like, I took one class this semester, and I think I paid $87 for the class because I got the Pell Grant, which basically covered the entire class. Now I paid about the same amount, a little less than $100 for my textbook. But yeah, all in all, less than $200 for a college course. That's about the cost of one credit at the institution I'm at anyway. And with these scholarships and with the grants and things, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And it's not even that much work, all things considered. I mean, I've been working 50-hour weeks for the last few weeks here, and this is like my finals week coming up, and it hasn't really even been too bad. So, one class working full-time, even more than full-time, I think is very doable. But I was listening to, it was like a podcast the other day, I was trying to figure out what the differences are between Catholic and Protestant work ethics. And almost everything I found was from a Protestant perspective. So Protestants talking about the Catholic work ethic, and pretty much, in a derogatory way towards it. But at least in what I have seen and understand, there is a pretty major difference between the Catholic and the Protestant work ethic, and I think this is very important within American culture, because American culture is largely Protestant, or at least has Protestant heritage. I think the largest religion in America, if you were to lump them all together, is still Protestantism. But I know at least recently that people that claim none as their religion have surpassed Catholics, which is the largest monolithic group of religious people in America. So Catholics are no longer the largest monolithic group of religious people. It is now the nuns. Protestants, of course, are not a monolithic group. It gets complex there. So the Protestant work ethic is basically this. Work is good in and of itself, and it's good regardless of the benefits you receive from it, you could say. Whereas, at least in these people's opinion, the Catholic work ethic is that work is toil, based upon Genesis chapter 3, and the curse that is placed upon Adam and Eve. Work is toil, and it's a punishment for the original sin. And therefore, it's not ideal. What's ideal is leisure. Leisure is the end of work. We don't work to live. We don't live to work. We work to live. So, and I think there's some problems with that, Protestant definition of the Catholic definition of the work ethic. I think a lot of times Protestants will assume that Catholics think work is inherently evil or something like that. No, of course not. There aren't very many things that are inherently evil, and those that are moral things, not occupational or physical things. And even and moral inherent evils are really the only inherent evils that exist. Nothing outside of actions, no beings are inherently evil. There's no such thing as an inherently evil being, because everything is created by God, and in that sense, at least it is good. Anyway, we'll continue this more later.